Yes. Welcome back to Game Points, and welcome back for that music here on this show. It's been a while since we've had our next guest on the program, and it hasn't been because of any rift, or at least that I'm aware of, but we welcome back to the program former Canadian Olympian and basketball connoisseur, B-Ball Insider on Twitter.com. If you want to follow him there, it is Mr. Dwight Walton. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Matthew. Glad to be on your show once again. I apologize for the long delay, but it's a pleasure to be on your show once again.
Dwight, hearing your voice, it's like getting a warm hug. It really is. It's reassuring. It's, I don't know.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. That might be a little awkward, too. I don't know.
It's all right.
Now, Dwight, I don't know how to segue off of that. But last night, I actually had a chance to watch the slam dunk competition. Not some of the other stuff, unfortunately, but I wanted to get your impression on where you weigh in on this event. My initial reaction after watching it was, I could wait a couple years before this comes back, but obviously it's a cash cow at this point for sponsorship. Sprite last night, obviously. Your thoughts on what it's now become, what it used to be, and whether you like it or not?
Matthew, while I do appreciate the NBA's efforts to try and bring the team aspect into the All-Star weekend, and of course we all know that teams do win championships, but I would much prefer all the competitions go back to mano a mano, individual versus individual. That's what it's about. That's what the competition is about. You're trying to find out who just might be the best at what they do at that particular craft. I understand why they did it. Like you said, there's sponsorship involved, trying to bring, fair play into the fold, but I love it back in the day when it was man on man. And last night for me, during the slam dunk contest, while I did understand the rules, it did get confusing at times. And you want to see the best dunks out of all the players on an individual basis. Yes, some of the passing and the teamwork that was displayed was very good, but I would much prefer the single man competition as opposed to the team competition at this point. I think the NBA is trying to excite the fan out there. I understand that they're trying to, with all social media and internet access that we have now, there's instant gratification, instant responses, instant opinions to what's going on. So that's why it was done. But I think it was a fail last night, and of course the NBA will have to look at this, they'll have to address it, and try to improve it even better next year, or simply go back to the way it was, mano a mano, individual versus individual.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like things like 3-point shootout, that definite skill that's applicable certainly in a game.
Right.
I'd love to see. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I will say this: I didn't mind the all-rack money ball effect. I didn't mind it, but of course I wouldn't mind going back to the way it was with having the one money ball on the rack, because I think what the money ball rack did, it kept some guys in the competition. Bradley Beal in particular, I think in one round, or it got to the finals where he was able to hit 6 shots in a row, and 5 of those 6 were all money balls. So that did add some excitement, but I would much prefer the NBA go back to the way it was in the past.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Chatting with Dwight Walton about the NBA first half and certainly the All-Star weekend as well. Dwight, I'd love to see, how about just a game of one-on-one? How about just taking 5 young guys, young bucks in the NBA, 10 of them, I don't know, having a tournament, one-on-one up to 5 or something. Just playing one-on-one. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be good, too. And I guess you're leading into the fact that Kevin Durant did make a statement the other night about wanting to go one-on-one against somebody in the Eastern Conference. We can all assume who that somebody is. It would be good. I think it will create even more excitement. Maybe that's something that the NBA will look into. It hasn't been done before. But I'm all for competition in that way, especially on a weekend where you're trying to spice things up, where it has gone a little bit dead, a little bit dull, so to speak. So I'm all for anything to improve All-Star Weekend going forward. That's for sure.
All right, let's talk a little hoops here, Dwight. Indiana, to me, is just such an intriguing story, especially if they get home court throughout the playoffs in the East. What do they need to do to take out Miami, or do they need anything at all?
You know what, Matt? In the past, they haven't had much depth after their starting 5, and they've taken the Miami Heat to 6 and 7 games over the last 2 years. Some may argue that they should have won the series last year. they've improved their team markedly, especially off the bench this season, adding Luis Scola. Chris Copeland really hasn't done anything much for the team this season. They brought in other players to help them down the stretch. Of course, bringing in big man Andrew Bynum. We don't know if that was a way of keeping him away from the Miami Heat or just giving them another option down on the low block. It is 6 fouls between him, Roy Hibbert, and Jan Mahimi. But right now, they do have the formula to beat the Miami Heat in a 7-game series. My only concern is, did they play too hard over the first half of the year to make sure that they got the home court advantage? They've been playing so well this season, but if you look at the standings, they're only 2.5 games ahead of the Miami Heat, who allegedly aren't playing all that well. They've had to deal with injuries all season, Dwayne Wade in particular. I believe they're 8-9 or 9-6 without Dwayne Wade, yet they find themselves right there, knocking at the doorstep for the best record, not only in the Eastern Conference, but in the NBA once again. So do the Indiana Pacers right now have enough to beat the Miami Heat in a 7-game series? They absolutely do. Is it going to happen? Of course, that remains to be seen. But they're playing well. They're playing well, especially on the defensive end. They're only giving up 90 points per game, which to me is unheard of in this NBA, with all the rules being slanted towards the offense. But they have a chance. I'm looking forward to the Eastern Conference Final Series, that's for sure.
Dwight, Thursday being the NBA trade deadline, do you expect any big moves to happen by the time the deadline arrives on Thursday?
Mo, you know how it is with all the rumors that are out there. All of the big names that you expect to get traded won't get traded. However, one name that has been in the trade talks for the past 2-3 years is Pau Gasol. I think if the Lakers do embrace the tanking issue, if you want to call it that, it is about time that they take Pau Gasol off their books and trade him away. And the partner that we keep on hearing about over the last couple of days are the Phoenix Suns. The Lakers are trying to get as much money off the books so they can clear themselves for the draft and for upcoming free agency this summer. They want to acquire Emeka Okafor's contract. They're willing to give away Pau Gasol basically for that so they can get off the books. And that being said, I think Pau Gasol would definitely help the Phoenix Suns, who are definite players right now in the Western Conference going for the playoffs going forward. But I think Pau Gasol is the name that you will see get dealt. Of course, you hear about Carmelo Anthony. You hear about Luol Deng getting traded again. Kevin Love, maybe, if he's given any indication to the Timberwolves brass that he won't be signing there come 2015 for when free agency comes up for him. So those are the names that I look for right now to get traded. Maybe Thaddeus Young from Philadelphia, names of that ilk. But I think Pau Gasol will be the name that we have to pay attention to come trade deadline, I think 7 to 10 days or so.
All right, Dwight, do you ever think that we'd be sitting here All-Star Weekend, your Lakers and my Celtics would have no reps and no chance of going to the playoffs?
Based on their roster coming in before the season, Matthew, quite frankly, yes. We did expect.
No, I just meant in the general sense. You know, it's maybe more so even for you because Boston had some bad years before the Big Three came in. But
yes.
I know Boston obviously has a little bit of hope because of all the young, picks or all the draft picks they have stockpiled. But as a Laker fan, how do you feel about what's going on?
Well, if you ask me, I think right now the Boston Celtics are in a much better situation than the LA Lakers are, having 6 first-round picks over the next 2 seasons. And if they are active at the trade deadline, of course, Rajon Rondo was a name that I forgot to mention. He may be traded as well. Maybe Jeff Green. Maybe Danny Ainge is trying to attract or gather as many assets as he can for the Celtics going forward so they can have not a short run, but a long run for playoffs and championship contention. But the Lakers are in a bad situation. That's why they need to have a bad year. They need to acquire some draft picks. They have to try and convince some top-tier free agents to want to play with Kobe Bryant, who is a me-first, win-my-way type of player. Yes, he does have 5 championships, but he is a difficult player to play with. So if you were to ask me, before the season, I kind of thought that Boston and LA would be in tough this season and not be making a playoff run. But, of course, the tradition is there. They're used to winning. They will get back to their winning ways. But as Laker and Celtics fans, we have to get used to some dry years going forward. But they'll be back in the fold. They'll be contending for championships in the next 2 or 3 years, I believe.
All right, well, let's see what kind of game we get tonight for the All-Star game, and we'll chat with you hopefully in the coming weeks.
No problem, Matthew. Thanks for having me on once again, and have a great week.
Thanks. Same to you.